Transmigrated into the cannon fodder widow of a cultivation novel, the plot had just reached the scene where an immortal descended to the mortal realm, pointing at the male lead and declaring him the chosen one, demanding the villagers serve him wholeheartedly. The crowd gathered around the young male lead, fawning over him with fearful reverence, but my gaze drifted to the shadowy corner, where a grimy little figure stood unnoticed. The book described him as a cruel, ruthless villain who would become the greatest obstacle on the male and female protagonist's path to immortality. Yet he was only 5 years old, thin as a bamboo pole, wrapped in nothing but a tattered sack. Only his eyes remained, full of grievance and stubbornness. Against the crowd's flow, I knelt before him. "What's so great about being the chosen one? You'd be better off as my son, Liho Hot's boy, 3 square meals guaranteed. How about that?" Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. After transmigrating into the book, the system tasked me with bringing warmth to the male lead's desolate childhood, but by the time I arrived, Shin Qinghan's hidden identity had already been officially recognized by the immortals. The villagers clustered around him like treasure hunters, showering him with endless flattery. Oh my, I knew Qinghan was destined for greatness from the start, on the day he was born. 5 colored auspicious clouds enveloped our Bishui village. That was clearly an omen of an immortal's birth. Exactly. Just now the immortal said the chosen one is fated to have shallow familial ties. We used to pity poor Qinghan's parents for passing so early, but now it seems they must have attained enlightenment ahead of time and are waiting for him in the heavens. When you ascend to immortality someday, don't forget us folks from Bishui village. As Shin Qinghan basked in the villagers' admiring gazes, I began to hesitate. How could the mission continue when the male lead was already the center of attention? Yet, out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a grimy little figure crouched in the shadows. Their face was so dirty it was hard to make out their features, but their eyes shone startlingly bright. That gaze was uncannily like my own child's, the one lying gravely ill in another world. My feet could no longer move an inch. In the moment I stood frozen, he suddenly darted out and grabbed the sleeve of the departing immortal. "Immortal, look at me, I don't have parents either." The immortal hastily kicked him away, staring at the stains on his pristine white robe with utmost disgust. Where did this wild child come from? Not a shred of manners. The villagers nearby hurriedly wiped the immortal's robe while harshly scolding the small figure lying on the ground. "A blind little bastard, how dare you compare yourself to Qinghan? Qinghan is heaven's chosen one, destined to have weak familial ties. You're parentless because you brought death upon them yourself. Get lost already, don't dirty the immortal's sight." Only then did I realize. He was the cruel and tyrannical villain from the book. The fallen villain on the ground seemed long accustomed to scorn. Without uttering a word, he wiped his face and limped away into the distance. My heart felt as if it had been violently seized, and I uncontrollably stepped in front of him. I crouched down and wiped away the tear stains at the corners of his eyes. With a beaming smile, I said, "What's so great about being the chosen one? How about being Liho Hot's son instead? 3 square meals guaranteed. What do you say?" Beside me, Auntie Gu shouted loudly, "Liho Hot, have you lost your mind wanting a son? The child is cruel by nature. The whole village has seen him catch demon beasts and gnaw them to death. He's also light-fingered, once got his leg broken for stealing, and don't forget, his mother died giving birth to him, his father vanished without a trace. That's divine retribution for you." I lowered my gaze. In the original story, he was the child born from the demon emperor's human form and a mortal woman. The demon emperor was fickle-hearted. After a night of passion, he simply patted his bottom and left, abandoning the lovesick woman who waited bitterly for her beloved. She risked her life to give birth to the villain, only to pass away without even naming him. Though both were parentless children, the protagonist was heaven's favorite, fed by 100 families, clothed by 100 households, and nurtured by all. Even immortals stood guard over his bright and glorious future. Yet the villain was left alone and wretched, scorned by everyone. Where even passing chickens would strut proudly to peck at him. This is truly too cruel for a child. No wonder when he grew up, he named himself Yi Wuya, drifting like a leaf, hatred without bounds. He truly lived up to this name, becoming the great villain who slaughtered his way through the entire story, until he finally fell beneath the protagonist's halo. Even in death, he was cursed by the world. But how can we expect a child who has never received love to harbor kindness toward this world? I could almost see his mother fretting anxiously in heaven, praying for someone to show her child a little more compassion. As a mother myself, I simply couldn't stand by and do nothing. The mission must be completed, but this child, I'll take care of him too. At this thought, I took out a flaky pastry from my pocket and held it before his eyes. Here, kid, try this. I made it myself. His whole body trembled slightly, like a startled little animal. From behind me, Aunt Goo kept shouting, "Oh, Lee-ho-hot, stay away from him. Who knows what disease he might give you." My hand suddenly felt empty. The figure before me had already nimbly run far away. Early the next morning, I was startled awake by the sound of something heavy falling. Pushing open the door, I saw a massive bundle lying right in the center of the courtyard. The bundle wasn't tied tightly, revealing its overflowing contents. There was food, various objects, and even a shivering live chicken. But why did all these things look increasingly familiar? Before I could collect my thoughts, a small soot-covered face peeked out from behind the tree. His pitch-black eyes held equal parts unease and anticipation. I understood immediately. These must be gifts he'd gathered everywhere as reciprocation for the pastries. Feigning confusion, I asked, "Such wonderful gifts. I wonder who could have sent them. I can't accept something of unknown origin, so I'll have to return it to the village." Only then did the person behind the tree urgently say, "Don't, it's for you." He poked his little head out again and blurted out something completely random. "I'm not sick." Only then did I remember. This was his response to second Aunt Goo's remark from yesterday. My heart warmed, and I walked over in a few strides, patting his bony shoulder. "I appreciate your kindness. But you must tell me, where did this come from?" he declared confidently. "I found it." "Where?" "In someone else's house." He went door to door, picking out what he thought was best to give me. "It reminds me of that stray cat I once fed," cautiously offering what it considered its most precious catch, a mouse. Yet fearing my disdain, he stared at my face, tilting his head as he asked, "Don't you like it?" "What do you like?" "I'll go find it." Before the words had fully left his mouth, the courtyard gate was pounded heavily. "Lee-ho-hot, is that little thief hiding in your house? He's stolen so much from the villagers. Hand him over now. We'll break both his legs." Like a startled cat, he darted behind the tree in an instant, revealing only a pair of terrified eyes. I signaled for him not to be afraid, then turned and opened the courtyard gate. The villagers were angrily blocking the entrance, their fury palpable. "Where's that little brat? I'll teach him a lesson he won't forget. Break all his limbs and throw him to the demon beasts in the back mountains." I took everything out of the bundle. My apologies to everyone. The child didn't know any better before and caused trouble for you all. From now on, I Lee-ho-hot will teach him properly and make sure he doesn't bother you again. All your belongings are here. For anything that's broken, I'll compensate you fully, and I'll add a little extra as a token of my apology. I kept my demeanor humble, leaving the villagers with their anger but no way to vent it. One by one, they took their belongings and compensation, grumbling angrily as they left. After seeing off the last person, I finally called out behind me, "Come out." He hung his head and shuffled over step by step. Was I wrong? I patted his head. To knowingly do wrong is what makes it wrong. No one taught you not to take others' things casually. Since you didn't know, it naturally doesn't count as wrong. He scratched his head, looking puzzled. "Why can't we take others' things?" I countered. "Can I take your clothes then?" He nervously clutched the tattered sackcloth covering him. "No, if I give it to you, I won't have any clothes left to wear." "That's right. What belongs to you is important to you, and it's the same for others. When precious things are taken away, people feel hurt." Only then did he nod in understanding. "I get it now." I smiled knowingly. I was just about to ask if he wanted to stay when he suddenly seemed to remember something, turned around, and dashed away with a whoosh. Another heavy thud echoed through the air. I rushed outside to look. A bloody animal leg lay sprawled in the center of the yard. The wound was jagged and raw, clearly torn off by brute force, truly worthy of the demon emperor's bloodline. Born with boundless strength, drenched in the scent of blood, he remained completely unaware, merely gazing at me with pride. This time, it's not someone else's. I caught it myself. I stood dumbfounded, only remembering to grab hold of him tightly after a long pause. This time I won't let you run away again. His face was full of panic. What are you doing? With complete conviction, I said. I ate hot. Don't accept things from others for nothing, of course. I'll treat you to a hearty meal. Well, the tiny figure in my hand struggled fiercely. I don't want it. Don't want it. I smiled cheerfully. Such a plump and tender beast leg. If we skin and scale it, marinate for half a day, then slice it into strips of perfectly balanced lean and fat, then we'll set up a grill, roast it until crispy outside and juicy inside, sizzling with oil, sprinkle on some seasoning. You've no idea how delicious it'll be. It's just a shame, such a huge leg, there's no way I could finish it all by myself. His subordinate immediately stopped struggling. A moment later, the sound of gulping echoed through the air. Summoning his courage, he whispered, if you can't finish it, feed it to the dogs. If the dogs won't eat it, I will. My heart suddenly ached. An image flashed through my mind, him watching eagerly as villagers fed leftovers to dogs, then scrambling to snatch scraps from their mouths. Wiping the corners of her eyes, she forced out a faint smile. Auntie loves good children like you the most, so of course I'll give you the best things to eat. Eat to your heart's content. I guarantee your little belly will be round and full. The little one obediently sat on the small stool, watching me deftly prepare the barbecue. It wasn't long. I picked up a fragrant slice of grilled meat with bamboo chopsticks, blew on it to cool it down, and handed it over. Watching the glistening, oil-glistened slice of meat, he blinked his eyes and took a cautious bite. Then he gave me an incredulous look. I asked, is it good? He nodded vigorously. Wolfing down the food, this is way better than raw meat. My hand, busy roasting meat, paused momentarily. The villagers claimed he was inherently cruel, simply because they'd seen him devouring demon beast carcasses alive. When food and clothing are sufficient, men know honor and shame. For a 5-year-old child, having enough to eat is already difficult. How could they care about anything else? My heart aching, I handed them a cup of hawthorn water to aid digestion, along with a plate of yam cakes. Eat slowly, don't choke. When his mouth was dripping with grease, I asked again, do you want more? He nodded eagerly. I coaxed him, become my child, and you'll eat your fill at every meal. Would you be willing? He lowered his head, his voice muffled. They all say I'm a jinx, that misfortune follows anyone who gets close. You've been kind to me. I don't want to bring you harm. I feigned surprise. Could there really be such a calamity in this world that brings me meat to eat? This is clearly my lucky star. A blush tinged his cheeks. Lucky star? I nodded with exaggerated seriousness. No wonder I took such an instant liking to you the moment I saw you. Just being near you makes me feel refreshed and energized, like I could walk miles without tiring. Tell me, how can you not be my little lucky star? I sighed, but after all, forced fruit never tastes sweet, if you're unwilling. I can only blame myself for not being blessed with such fortunate stars. He was so flattered by my praise that he thumped his chest and declared loudly, I'd love to. I'm super strong. From now on I'll hunt demon beasts for you every day. I simply hugged him tight and planted a big kiss on his little soot-smudged face. My dear child, from now on you'll be my Lihohat's baby. Let's live well together, mother and child. This time, he didn't struggle. The first thing I did for him was to change his name. I always felt that to help him escape the fate of being a villain, he needed to stay as far away from the plot as possible. After much deliberation, I named him Li Ping'an. I didn't want him to become the terrifying demon lord again. I just wanted him to live a safe and peaceful life. Li Ping'an happily accepted his new name. Under my temptation of delicious food, he took his first bath in his life, got a haircut, and put on clean new clothes. I had made these clothes overnight, tasks I was quite skilled at before crossing over, never expecting they'd come in handy here. Li Ping'an, all cleaned up, looked like a completely different person. His originally unruly black hair was loosely tied into 2 horn buns, his large eyes shining brightly like obsidian. That gaze was so much like my Anan's that I couldn't help but feel my eyes redden. Due to prolonged malnutrition, his skin was somewhat pale, yet it couldn't conceal the delicate features beginning to show angular definition, only, his frail body was covered with old scars. Some were left from battles with demonic beasts, some from mosquito bites, and others, who knows who had inflicted them. He looked uneasy, in winter when I couldn't find any demon beasts. I stole and ate other people's chickens and ducks. Once, I nearly had my legs broken. He already knew stealing was wrong, his voice trembling with suppressed sobs. I only stole because I was starving. I patted his head gently and said, Ping'an doesn't resent those who hit you. He just knows taking others' things was wrong. Being brave enough to face your mistakes is truly remarkable. Ping'an stared at me blankly, her eyes rimmed red. But everyone says I'm bad. I pointed at the sapling in the yard. Look, when a little sapling gets desperately thirsty, it struggles to find water on its own. Of course people will desperately search for food when their stomachs growl with hunger. So Ping'an, you've done nothing wrong, you were just trying to survive. How could you be a bad child? You're braver and stronger than most adults. Li Ping'an was a child who carried heavy burdens in his heart, though I'd already cleaned him up until he was neat and tidy. Even looking far more handsome than ordinary children, but those days and nights of being looked down upon still lingered in his heart like a thick fog. He would always hide quietly, watching the other children play with envious eyes. I encouraged him, Ping'an, go join them, with a proud toss of his head. He retorted, no, I don't want to at all. Picking up the small rice pestle, she began pounding the rice paste for me with steady thuds, just beyond the wall. The children seemed to be playing war games, their excitement palpable in the air. Their boisterous laughter and shouts kept drawing Li Ping'an's frequent glances. Noticing his distracted state, I gave him an out. Look, they seem to be missing a vanguard. I heard only strong kids are fit to be vanguards. Ping'an, you'd be perfect. He was swayed by my words, eager to give it a try. Should I go try? I gave him an encouraging thumbs up. Charge, charge, charge. Li Ping'an went off cheerfully. I'll be your vanguard. The group of children immediately came to a halt. One child took the lead and shouted, no way, you're a wild child, my mom won't let me play with you. Encouraged by the first, the other children chimed in, my mom says you're dirty and smelly, playing with you will make us sick. You're a motherless child, go away. Li Ping'an clenched his fists, his face flushing red. If you won't play with me, then I won't play with you either. I'll kill you all someday. He turned and ran, charging straight into the courtyard until he collided with me, still fuming with anger. It's all your fault. They don't like me at all. Nobody likes me. I gently embraced him, soothing his emotions. No, I actually really like Ping'an. They don't play with you because they don't understand you. Sometimes people instinctively resist things they don't understand, just like how Ping'an disliked me at first too, but now accepts me, doesn't he? The little one in his arms paused before mumbling, I don't dislike you, you're kind to me, I like you too. His ears flushed crimson. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that about you. I smiled cheerfully. Then I forgive you. He looked up, a trace of unease in his eyes. But I also said bad things to them just now. I shouldn't have done that, right? After thinking for a moment, I said, people's hearts are very tender, and words can easily wound them. When the villagers used harsh words to scold Ping'an, Ping'an felt very hurt, didn't he? Lost in thought, he nodded emphatically. Ping'an doesn't want to be like them. Ping'an will speak kindly from now on. He's really adorable. I smiled and asked, then does Ping'an still want to play with them? Li Ping'an frowned, and after a long pause, he pursed his lips and told the truth. I do. I took his hand. Let's go. I have a way. I led Li Ping'an back to find the children. Shen Qinghan frowned and stepped forward. Can't you understand words? You're not welcome here. Leave. With one arm around Li Ping'an, I smiled provocatively. Is it that you don't want to play? Or that you dare not? Kids this age are at their most temperamental stage, and nothing provokes them more than hearing, dare not. The children were instantly riled up, their faces flushed with anger. Dare not? What's there to dare not? I said leisurely, because you're afraid of losing to our Ping'an. You deliberately pretend not to want to play with him. Actually, you're just worried about losing face, right? In my arms, Li Ping'an slowly raised his head, a glimmer of vitality returning to his face. Shen Qinghan was the first to step forward, his face full of defiance. I'm not afraid. I nodded. Words are meaningless. If you've got what it takes, then compete with him. The children's competitive spirit was completely roused by me, each one burning with righteous indignation. What shall we compete in? I smiled faintly. Kids at this age have simple minds. If you try to lecture them with grand principles, they might not listen. But if you challenge them to a contest, they're guaranteed to get fired up. This is what we call hero worship. Perfect timing. Your hero has arrived. I found a flat boulder and pointed at it. Arm wrestling. Li Pingyan's eyes instantly lit up. In the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, the children opposite him admitted defeat one by one. Drenched in sweat, Li Pingyan remained perfectly composed, not even changing his posture. Shen Qinghan seemed to suffer his first defeat, his face flushing red with anger. I won't accept this. Let's go again. Left hand, lost. Right hand, still lost. I pondered thoughtfully. Turns out even the male lead isn't invincible, at least in terms of strength. He was no match for Li Pingyan. The skeptical kids came up with a sneaky trick, 2 against Li Pingyan. In the end, they were effortlessly flipped over, one to the left, one to the right. Now they were at their wits' end and had no choice but to admit defeat. In the end, innocence prevailed. Just moments ago, they were gritting their teeth, swearing they'd never play with Li Pingyan again, yet now they all crowded around him, their eyes brimming with admiration. Pingyan, you're truly amazing. These arms aren't any thicker than mine. How can they be so strong? You wait. I'll go home and eat several more bowls of rice. Next time I'll definitely beat you. Li Pingyan, who was being fervently praised for the first time, completely lost his earlier composure, his little face turning bright red. Later, a group of children fought fiercely over who would get to have Li Pingyan as their vanguard. Finally, we agreed that to be fair, we'd take turns one by one. Seeing they'd had their fill of fun, I finally brought out 2 large platters piled high with steaming assorted pastries. Come try Auntie's baking. You're welcome to come play with my Pingyan again next time. The children's faces showed no trace of their initial reluctance anymore. Each of them tilted their little heads upward, their cheeks glistening with grease as they cheered enthusiastically, in unison. Good. When it was time to leave, they clung to Li Pingyan reluctantly, giving him earnest reminders. Next time, you'll lead the charge again. We'll make sure to wipe the floor with them. Li Pingyan, brimming with heroic spirit, thumped his chest and declared, absolutely. A group of people marched off in grand procession. Only Shen Qinghan wiped the crumbs from the corner of his mouth and gave me a heavy, lingering look. Soon, Li Pingyan had blended right in with them. A group of half-grown kids ran around causing mischief every day. I didn't restrain him either. Having been alone for many years, he suddenly had companions and naturally wanted to play to his heart's content. I just chilled some watermelons and prepared cooling herbal tea, waiting for them to return and refresh themselves from the summer heat. Li Pingyan's smiles grew more frequent, the brooding demeanor he once wore gradually fading away. But on this day, I waited endlessly without seeing hide nor hair of him. Not until the setting sun cast long shadows did Li Pingyan's little playmates come weeping into the courtyard. Gasping through their sobs, they cried, Aunt Ho-Hot, Li Pingyan, he's had an accident. I sprang to my feet. What happened? Speak clearly. While we were playing on the back mountain, there was a demon beast, such a huge demon beast. We were all terrified, but the demon beast went straight for Shen Qinghan. Li Pingyan, to protect everyone, lured the beast away by himself. I want to help him, but I'm too scared. Woo-woo. My heart burned with anxiety. After getting clear directions, I grabbed a hoe and ran desperately. Only then did I remember, this scene existed in the original book too. That 1,000-year-old demonic beast had been wounded by Shen Qinghan's immortal identity before his tribulation. Consumed by vengeance, it had painstakingly tracked Shen Qinghan's aura here. Although Shen Qinghan hadn't awakened his powers yet, destiny favored him. At the brink of death, he unlocked the potential hidden in his bloodline, defeated the demonic beast, and thus began his immortal cultivation journey. Damn it, Shen Qinghan has the protagonist's halo. But my Onping doesn't. He carries the bloodline of the demon emperor within him, though his strength is somewhat greater. Ordinary demonic beasts can't harm him. But this is a 1,000-year-old demonic beast we're talking about. I dared not think further. As dusk fell, I stumbled through the mountain paths. In the distance, flames flickered fiercely, silhouetting several shadowy figures. No sooner had I approached than a loud, accusatory shout pierced the air. How could such a monstrous beast appear out of nowhere? You've always been sneaky. You must have lured it here. Exactly. And of all people, Qinghan gets hurt. I bet you're jealous that Qinghan caught the immortal's favor, so you deliberately set this up. I knew you were no good from the start. Only that desperate widow Li, who's obsessed with having a son, would be blind enough to take you in. A group of hunters dressed in rough garb clamored to pronounce Li Ping'an guilty. Li Ping'an stood alone beside the demon beast's corpse, covered in blood, facing them in confrontation. His head was held high, but his hands trembled uncontrollably beneath his sleeves. I wasn't. The man opposite him narrowed his eyes and spat angrily. Pa, how can we trust your words? Don't tell us you're claiming you killed this demon beast and saved Qinghan. Qinghan possesses immortal protection. He must have slain the beast. You took advantage of his exhaustion to ambush him, didn't you, Tisk? Just as expected, you can't get good bamboo from bad roots. Widow Li's efforts were all wasted. Ping'an shouted angrily, don't you dare speak about Auntie like that. I strode over and crouched down in front of Li Ping'an. Are you hurt? I nervously checked him over from head to toe. Li Ping'an stubbornly pressed his lips together, but his eyes reddened the moment he saw me. They said it was me, but I didn't do it. I gently patted his head and said softly, no need to explain. I believe you. Turning around, I shielded him with my body, placing my hands on my hips. I shouted angrily. Are your pig eyes blind? Can't you see all the beast's blood on my Ping'an? The children who came back to report said it was the beast that suddenly attacked. Ping'an risked his life to lure it away and save everyone. Qinghan got hurt because the beast charged at him first. If it weren't for my Ping'an protecting him at the risk of his own life, he'd be dead by now. I glared fiercely at those aggressive men. Do you know whose children Ping'an saved? The second son of the Luo family. The youngest child of the Sun family, and yours, yes, yours, all your family's children were among them. My finger practically jabbed toward their faces, a bunch of grown men with eyes hanging like eggs beneath your brows. Can you only stare, but not see, without figuring anything out? You go and bully a 5-year-old child. Have you no shame? If you don't give me an explanation today, I'll camp outside your doors every day and broadcast the good deeds you've done. The group was thoroughly shamed by my scolding and didn't dare utter another word. After a long pause, the leader finally stammered, well, Qinghan was injured and unconscious. We were just acting out of urgency to save him. I wasn't having any of it. My Ping'an was covered in blood from head to toe, yet no one bothered to ask about him. Instead, he gets all the blame dumped on him. Qinghan happened to regain consciousness at that moment, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Qinghan, you're awake. Some remained skeptical of my words and couldn't resist asking, was it really this little BAS? I mean, this boy who saved you? Qinghan's face was deathly pale as he laboriously turned his head. The moment he saw Li Ping'an, an inscrutable darkness flickered through his eyes. Understood. The demon beast appeared suddenly. It was Li Ping'an who saved us. I didn't want to owe him any favors, so I tried to help, and ended up wounded by the demon beast. His lips moved slightly as he uttered a sentence. Li Ping'an, I will repay your life-saving grace someday. Behind me, Li Ping'an suddenly grabbed my hand, lifted her chin proudly, and declared, no need, Auntie said. With great power comes great responsibility. I'm stronger than you, so naturally I should protect you. Having said that, he exhausted his strength and passed out. Lying on my back, he mumbled something indistinctly. Too faint to make out. Mom, hug. The next day, someone knocked on the courtyard gate. I was tying Li Ping'an's hair into little buns when he bounced over to open the door. Outside stood a neat row of people. Some carried baskets, some held bolts of cloth, and others lugged wine jars. Leading them was Aunt Gu. Sister Li, we've come to thank Ping'an. We've all heard from our children. If it weren't for Ping'an yesterday, something terrible would have surely happened. Our Gu family has only this one precious seedling left. If anything really happens to him, how could this old woman go on living? Without waiting for a response, she thrust a basket of goose eggs into his hands. Then she fished out a handful of malt candies from her pocket and pressed them into Li Ping'an's palm. Ping'an, you're a good boy. Grandma used to speak ill of you before. It was all Grandma's fault. Can you forgive Grandma? Ping'an didn't take the candy. just looked at me hesitantly with pleading eyes. There's a line in Anan's favorite cartoon, "Prejudice in people's hearts is like a towering mountain." Ping'an risked his life to save them, which finally changed their perception. Yet, such a change might not be what Ping'an truly needed, from beginning to end. He was simply being himself. So I said, "You can accept it or not. That's your freedom. No one can morally blackmail you." Ping'an thought for a moment and said, "I did this because they're my friends. I don't want my friends to get hurt. This has nothing to do with you. If you want to thank someone, thank Auntie. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have saved anyone." The group exchanged awkward glances, then one by one set down their baskets and slunk away. Ping'an looked at me and said, "In the past, my heart was filled with bitterness. Every grievance others caused me was etched deep inside, and I swore I'd make them pay someday. But now my heart is full of sweetness. I don't care what they say or do anymore. As long as I have Auntie's love, that's enough for me." Gazing at Ping'an's radiant face, my heart warmed beyond words. The wound in his heart left by lack of love seemed to be healing, little by little. He wasn't a villain, nor would he ever become one again. My Ping'an will surely have the brightest, most brilliant life. When Li Ping'an was 12 years old, something happened. The female lead appears. In the original story, the female lead Yun Zhaoyue came from a noble family. It was only after her father was demoted that she ended up in Bisui village by coincidence, where she met Shen Qinghan and Yi Wuya. She was Shen Qinghan's childhood sweetheart and also Yi Wuya's unattainable white moonlight. Just because she gave Yi Wuya a piece of bread in his darkest hour, though it was a moldy piece of bread, it was the only warmth Yi Wuya had ever known in his life. Envious of Shen Qinghan's childhood bond with Yun Zhaoyue, he would stop at nothing to oppose him in the years to come, even attempting to imprison Yun Zhaoyue by his side, forcing that moonlight to shine on him alone. Though Li Ping'an is already completely different from the original story's villain, I still worry he might be influenced by the plot. I'd squeeze in some stories to tell him whenever possible. Once upon a time, a prince saw a sleeping princess and thought she was so beautiful that he kissed her. Does Ping'an see any problem with this? Li Ping'an shook his head. I stared intently into his eyes. Kissing a girl without her permission is extremely wrong behavior. If you truly like someone, you must respect their feelings. Li Ping'an seemed to half understand. Then what if I really like someone, but she doesn't like me? I responded smoothly. Then you must still respect her. If she doesn't like you and you keep pestering her, you'll only cause her distress. The other person has the freedom to dislike you, the freedom to dislike you now, but like you later, and even the freedom to like you now, but dislike you later. Li Ping'an was utterly confused by my lengthy explanation. Tilting his head with an innocent expression, "I get it now, we're all free, and we should respect everyone's feelings." That's right, you're so clever, Ping'an. But when Yun Zhaoyue truly appeared, I found everything was different. Li Ping'an stormed home in a rage, throwing a minor tantrum. Ping'an is angry? This was indeed rare. Recently, he'd been clinging to me every day, acting cute and coquettish, his little mouth never stopping as he chattered about all the amusing things that happened each day. It's been a long time since I've seen this child so angry. I pulled over a stool, cracking melon seeds as I asked, "Tell me, who upset you?" His lips pouted so much they could have hung an oil bottle. That new girl who just moved in, Yun something Wei, she actually gave me half a moldy pancake. I told her my aunt said I shouldn't eat spoiled food or I'd get diarrhea. She insisted on giving it to me and told me not to stand on ceremony. I was just playing in the mud too enthusiastically and got a bit dirty, yet she mistook me for a beggar. How infuriating. That's true. I prepare different delicacies for Li Ping'an every day. And his little mouth has long been spoiled. How could he possibly settle for that half piece of pancake? I tentatively asked. Did you ask why they gave you the pancake? Maybe it was out of kindness. The little one turned his head away and huffed. Humph, I don't care. I only listen to Auntie. If Auntie says not to eat dirty things, then I won't eat them. I was left speechless, torn between amusement and exasperation. Unknowingly, the plot in the book had gradually shifted. Now, Li Ping'an has been raised by me to be delicate and fair-skinned, upright and sunny, open-hearted and above-board. He would no longer mistake a mere act of kindness from others as the only light in his life, but I knew his emotional knot remained unresolved. Shin Qinghan remained his deepest unresolved emotion. After encountering the demonic beast earlier, Shin Qinghan realized he must grow stronger to protect himself. Once the protagonist's halo awakens, its momentum becomes unstoppable. During casual play, a mere touch would reveal a jade pendant concealing the soul of an ancient mighty being. You can even find cultivation manuals by digging through caves. Dig a pit and there's bound to be magical artifacts inside. In just a few months, Li Pingyan went from completely overpowering him to barely managing a draw. Pingyan felt utterly defeated and asked me dejectedly, "Why am I inferior to him in every way?" This question was difficult. Yi Wuya in the original story could never let it go until his dying day. I couldn't tell him the truth, because he wasn't the protagonist, and every person in this story was merely a puppet, unable to even grasp control of their own fate. But now, the plot has changed. I guided him to find the answer himself. There must be something only Li Pingyan can do. The answer might be hard to find, but Auntie will help you look. Li Pingyan's eyes lit up as he nodded firmly, but none of us had expected it. The answer turned out to come from Shin Qinghan. That day, I was drying string beans in the courtyard. Aunt Goop came rushing over in a panic, pulling at me. "Sister Li, come quick, your Pingyan has gotten into a fight. No one can stop this. If you don't go now, someone's going to die." My heart jolted. I had made a promise with Pingyan, never use my strength to harm others, no matter how capable I was. Something must have happened. By the time I arrived, a burly man was clutching his face and howling incessantly. "Io, Io." Pingyan was wrestling fiercely with Shin Qinghan. I was about to intervene when the man grabbed me and wouldn't let go. "Your kid hurt someone. This debt falls on you to settle." I shook him off sharply and said coldly, "Was it my Pingyan who injured you?" The man glared sideways, gnashing his teeth. "You think I'm lying," I said calmly. "My son Pingyan isn't a child who goes back on his word. If he promised me not to hurt others recklessly, he'll certainly keep that promise. There's only one reason he hit you. You deserved it." The man's face turned purple with rage, his eyes nearly bursting with anger as he prepared to argue. Some onlookers laughed mockingly. "Come off it, old Shin. You were cursing his mother behind his back, calling her a slut who slept with countless men, when the kid heard and beat you up. Who else can you blame? If your nephew Qinghan hadn't come to rescue you, you'd be a goner by now. Better tuck your tail between your legs and scram." Then the man suddenly remembered something and burst out laughing at me. "Little Li, do you know what your Pingyan just said?" Mimicking Pingyan's voice, he roared angrily. "My mother taught me that only the vilest people spread vulgar rumors to shame women. Since your mother didn't teach you, I, Li Pingyan, will. Oh my. What a thoughtful child, Sister Li. You've raised such a wonderful boy." That cry of a mother left my heart aching yet sweetly warmed. Snapping back to reality, I quickly tried to separate Pingyan and Shin Qinghan. The two were locked in combat, their fierce momentum scattering bystanders in fright. Li Pingyan fumed angrily. "Shin Qinghan, have you lost your mind? It was your uncle who insulted my mother first. He deserved that beating." Yet Shin Qinghan seemed not to hear. Venting his rage relentlessly, Yun Zhaoyue stood nearby, repeatedly attempting to intervene but finding no opening. She could only cry out urgently, "Stop fighting, both of you." Li Pingyan was finally provoked by Shin Qinghan's reckless fighting style and punched him in the face. "I've had enough of you." Once the floodgates of long-suppressed emotions burst open, everything came pouring out. "We're both orphans. Why do you get everything you want while everyone loves you? This isn't fair. I just won't submit. I refuse to submit." Shin Qinghan finally spoke, smiling bitterly. "Unfair. They never loved me. They just want me to repay them when I grow up. I'd rather have nothing and be a worthless loser my whole life, as long as I have a mother like Li Hohat who'd protect me at all costs. I'm just jealous of you, plain jealous." These words left everyone stunned. At last I realized why this system gave me such a task. Even though Shin Qinghan is the seemingly omnipotent male lead, born with acute sensitivity, he instinctively knows that every kindness shown to him comes with ulterior motives. People only care about when he'll achieve fame and success. No one spares a thought for the hidden fears trembling in his heart. This is his most deeply concealed wound. Li Pingyan muttered blankly to himself, "You, Shin Qinghan, envy me." Shin Qinghan, realizing his slip of tongue, withdrew his fist and turned his head away. Li Ping'an was stunned. Li Ping'an understood. Li Ping'an smiled. I finally beat you once. That's right. That's right. I have the best mother in the world. I'll piss you off. Piss you off. Piss you off. Shen Qinghan gritted her teeth, her eyes reddening as she got up and ran away. Though Li Ping'an talked tough, he still took Shen Qinghan's words to heart in the end. A child who has been caught in the rain always wants to hold an umbrella for others too. He hinted at me indirectly. Mother. You can treat Shen Qinghan a little better than ordinary people, but only a tiny bit better. Absolutely no more than me. I'm your precious darling. After all, I suppressed a laugh and agreed with him, not just for my mission, but also for this child who shared Ping'an's misfortune. Most importantly, seeing them always reminded me of Myanan. If he were healthy, wouldn't he be as lively as Ping'an or as steady as Qinghan? I pretended to be angry, grabbing each of them by an ear. You too. Go and face your punishment. Love fighting so much. Go stand in the corner and give each other a heartfelt hug, promising never to fight again, or else neither of you will get off easy next time. The two of them hung their heads in frustration, reluctantly shuffling to the corner with sour expressions before hugging each other half-heartedly. They kept muttering under their breath, "This is all your fault. Why did you have to butt in? How was I supposed to know that's why you hit my uncle? If I'd known, I'd have done it myself. Who asked for your help? Blame you? Bah, it's your fault. So what if we got caught in the rain? Even two lonely bitter gourds can stubbornly blossom after weathering the storm." After that, though they bickered daily, their affection for each other only grew warmer. Yun Zhaoyue gradually joined them. To be specific, she became Shen Qinghan's little shadow, wiping sweat when they played tired, pouring tea when thirsty. In short, she was utterly gentle and considerate. Seeing this scene unfold with such a young child left me with a somewhat sour feeling inside. The book describes Yun Zhaoyue as the male lead's confidant, gentle, considerate, and devoted. She stays faithfully by his side, handling all matters so he can cultivate in peace. Even when Shen Qinghan later gained countless admirers, she remained his first love, the unforgettable white moonlight. Many climactic moments revolve around Yun Zhaoyue facing mortal danger, teetering on the brink of death. Each time, Shen Qinghan would defy impossible odds, risking his life to save her. Their mutual devotion made them the envy of all, an immortal couple blessed by the heavens. She was like a pre-programmed entity, her eyes seeing only Shen Qinghan, with no room for anyone else. Perhaps influenced by the plot, Shen Qinghan and Li Ping'an continued their rivalry just as written in the book, only this time, their competition wasn't over the female lead, but for the title of the strongest martial artist in Bishui village. Today, Shen Qinghan defeated Li Ping'an in their sword duel. Tomorrow Li Ping'an won the Qinggong competition against Shen Qinghan. The two would compete every few days, and the villagers had grown accustomed to it. I simply prepared energy-boosting snacks for them, and when their competitions got too heated, I'd firmly grab both by their ears, forcing them to obediently clean up the mess. At first, I worried that Shen Qinghan, with his usual aloofness, wouldn't tolerate my methods. Perhaps influenced by Ping'an, the way he looked at me grew increasingly filial, until one night, when Yun Zhaoyue knocked on my courtyard gate, Li Ping'an warily shielded me, his face clearly saying, "Don't steal my mother." Now he harbored no affection whatsoever for Yun Zhaoyue, his mind solely focused on defeating Shen Qinghan. Yun Zhaoyue's pretty little face was clouded with worry as she gazed at me with tearful eyes. "Aunt Ho-Hot, can I talk to you?" With a few comforting words, I coaxed Li Ping'an back to his room. He kept glancing back nervously, afraid Yun Zhaoyue might have improper intentions toward me. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief and turn my attention to the troubled girl. "What happened? Tell Auntie all about it." Yun Zhaoyue lowered her head, looking somewhat lost. She said she shouldn't have had to come to Bishui village in the first place. But ever since the village produced a Heaven's Chosen One officially recognized by an immortal, her ambitious father had sent her here. Father refuses to spend his entire life confined to this impoverished backwater. He wants me to find a way to win Shen Qinghan's heart, saying only then can the Yun family's glory be preserved. I frowned deeply upon hearing this. The book never elaborated much on this matter. I had simply assumed the male and female leads were destined by fate, so this was the truth all along. Yet now she's merely a child, forced to bear so much, she sighed. I had already resigned myself to fate, but coming to Bisui village. Watching Shen Qinghan and Li Ping'an passionately pursue their paths every day, I've grown increasingly unsettled. Why am I the only one without any worth? And why must my life, Yuan Zhaoyue's life, always cling to others? Her words grew increasingly impassioned, her eyes gleaming with unyielding determination. Aunt Osmanthus, Li Ping'an says you're the smartest person under heaven. Can you give me an answer? Seeing her bewildered expression, my heart melted completely. Haven't you already found the answer yourself? She was taken aback. I continued, you've witnessed Ping'an and Qinghan's efforts, and deep down you want to emulate them. That's your ambition. Your father's words began to shake your resolve because you refuse to be a daughter vine clinging to others. Even if that would be the easiest path, that's your integrity. At such a young age, you're willing to sacrifice yourself for your family. That's your sense of responsibility. I sincerely admire. Our Zhaoyue is such a wonderful girl. Her eyes welled up with tears upon hearing this. My father always says I'm useless, that if I can't continue the family's glory, then I'm worthless. Mother would only weep and urge me to obey father, yet she poured all her tenderness onto my younger brother. No one has ever seen me as good as you do. I patted her head. When adults call you useless, they're merely making excuses for their own incompetence. If you can't be a soaring phoenix yourself, you lay an egg and force your child to spread its wings. If the glory of an entire family relies on sacrificing daughters to submit to others, what purpose does such a family serve? It's not that I think so highly of you, it's that you've always been this kind of wonderful girl. I broke off a plum blossom branch and placed it in her hand. You've learned that sword technique Qinghan practiced, haven't you? Show me. I'd seen it long before, when Shen Qinghan was training. She stood by his side, her hand tracing every stroke beneath her sleeve, clearly mimicking their sword movements, just like when facing danger before. Though she never rushed forward to fight, she would always spread her arms without hesitation to shield the younger children. She was no delicate heroine needing a man's protection, nor should her charm require validation through men's competition. Yuan Zhaoyue accepted the plum branch. The bright moon hung high in the sky as a slender yet resilient figure took an exceptionally resolute step, graceful as a startled swan. I was so captivated by her astonishing aura that I found myself staring in awe. As the swordplay concluded, Yuan Zhaoyue's eyes burned with intensity. Just as she was about to speak, a whirlwind came sweeping toward her from behind. Li Ping'an gnashed his teeth. Mother, don't look at her. Yuan Zhaoyue, dealing with Shen Qinghan was already hard enough. And now you're here too, daring to show off in front of my mother. I'll outdo both of you if it's the last thing I do. I'm not sleeping tonight. Before anyone realized it, for people had already gathered around the small dining table in the courtyard. Every day is bustling with excitement. In my spare time, I tell them stories. Li Ping'an loves hearing about the Monkey King's havoc in heaven and Nez's rebellion against the Dragon King the most. He says a real man should fear no authority, just go for it. Shen Qinghan prefers tales like Quafu chasing the sun and Yu the Great taming the floods. He's always wanted to be a shining hero. Yuan Zhaoyue loved listening most to the tales of Nuwa mending the heavens and Mulan joining the army, each time becoming utterly enchanted, her eyes brimming with hope. One night, Li Ping'an pestered me to tell him the most extraordinary hero's story. Gazing at the starry sky, I began slowly. Once upon a time, there was a little child named Anan, who lost his father at birth and lived solely with his mother. His mother loved him dearly, and he loved his mother just as much. Then one day, he was caught by a wicked creature called Illness, who was very powerful and always made him suffer terribly. His hair fell out, and his body grew so weak he could only lie down. Yet he remained strong, not wanting to worry his mother. He would always smile and say, "Mommy, hold me. And Anan won't hurt anymore." His mother was deeply worried and prayed to the gods every day for his recovery, but the illness was too severe. Many adults couldn't withstand it, yet Anan kept gritting his teeth and holding on. Everyone said Anan was the toughest child, but one day, he slept for a very, very long time. The doctor said he might wake up, or he might not. His mother refused to give up, because Anan loved his mom most and surely couldn't bear to leave her. Later, the gods heard his mother's prayers and asked her to do one thing. If she succeeded, Anan would wake up, overwhelmed with joy. His mother resolved to accomplish it no matter what, to bring Anan back to life, and then she would tell him that he was the bravest hero in his mother's heart. The story ended, and silence lingered for a long time. Yun Jiaoyue gently wiped away my tears, Shen Qinghan said hoarsely. Anan was truly brave. Li Pingyan turned his head away, his voice distant and muffled. In Anan's heart, Mom is the bravest hero. I choked back sobs. By the time Li Pingyan and the others turned 14, I had no more stories left to tell them. This Hui village had nothing left to teach them either, except for each other. They could hardly find worthy opponents within a 1,000-mile radius. Shen Qinghan vowed to avenge the old man in the jade pendant, making his first decision to venture out into the world. The village held a grand farewell ceremony for him, with everyone wiping away tears and urging him not to forget the young and old of this Hui village when he ascends to immortality someday. Shen Qinghan had grown into a handsome young man,